Several years ago, me and my husband decided to take our children camping about an hour away from our house. And we wanted this experience to be like full on camping, like tents, no toilets, no modern conveniences or anything. So we packed up our minivan we had 3 kids at the time, and we drove about an hour away from some property that we had access to. And when we got there, we set up our tent and we unloaded all of our food and all of our camping supplies. We had brought camping games and all sorts of things. And we were planning to be there for 3 days. So we had plenty of things to keep us alive out in the middle of the wilderness for 3 days. And we had brought a lot of water. We had a big 5-gallon jug of water for cooking and drinking and everything. So as it was starting to get dark, we made a fire, and we had gotten all of our s'more stuff out. So we had graham crackers and marshmallows and our chocolate. And as it is with little kids and fires, they were kind of running around, and I tried to make sure everyone was safe and not falling in the fire as we were making s'mores. And I bent over kind of like this as the kids were running by me, and I looked over into the trees, and about 15 feet away from me, there were 2 eyes staring at me. And now I'm going to preface this a little bit, okay? Because during this time in my life, I was actually reading the Twilight series. And so when I saw the 2 eyes, the first thing that came to my mind was a werewolf. And so I turned to my husband and I said, "Babe, there's a werewolf in the trees." And he just looked at me and said, "There's no such thing as werewolves." And when he looked over to see, he said, "That's a bear. Get the kids and go to the car." So I gathered the children and we went to the car. And we all went into the van and we shut the doors. And as we were sitting there, we watched the bear come out of the trees and eat all of our s'mores. The kids were crying. It was so sad because we brought all of our s'more stuff out and we were supposed to have it for 3 days. And he ate our graham crackers and chocolate and marshmallows and everything. It was very, very sad. And so when the bear left, he went to the woods, and we stayed in our van for about 30 more minutes waiting to see if he'd come back, and he didn't. And so my husband said, "Okay, we can stay in camp now. Let's go to our tent." Which I was thinking, is he crazy? We can't stay in camp here. There's a bear and he could come back. Who knows what he will do, right? And my husband said that he was confident we would be fine. So we got into the tent, and within like an hour, getting the kids ready for bed and everything, everyone was asleep except for me. So my kids were all asleep. My husband was snoring, and I was laying wide awake thinking about this bear coming into the camp and what he would do to us. And I had no idea how to handle the situation. I kept thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. And so I could not relax. At about midnight, I heard something walk by the tent, some shuffling outside, and there's this little like doggy door in our tent, or like a window or something. So I unzipped it and I looked through, and a bear was walking by the tent. I could hear my heart pounding, and I was thinking, do bears have some kind of like sense to like hear my heart? You know how like sharks can like smell blood from like 2 miles away? I thought bears must be able to hear hearts beating, and then they come and attack. And so I was freaking out. And I woke up my husband, I shook him, and I was, "There's a bear, there's a bear, there's a bear." And he kind of wakes up, and I'm like, "You have to go outside. You have to go outside and get rid of it." And he was like, "Okay." Like, it's probably not going to listen to me. And so he went out, and he's wearing just his undies. And anyone who knows my husband knows that he's got weapons on him at all time. He's like that scene in The Lord of the Rings where the people are surrounding like the dwarves and the hobbits, and they unload all their weapons. I don't know if everyone's seen that, but they like have knives and guns and swords and things. So that's my husband. So I don't know where he was keeping it, but he had a pistol on him, and he walks outside and he throws a rock at the bear, And the bear just kind of looks at him and then makes its way over to the picnic table and sits on top of it like Winnie the Pooh. And my husband comes back into the tent and he says to me, I don't think the bear's going to go away. Why don't you just try to get some sleep? I was like, I thought in my head, I can't get sleep. How am I supposed to sleep when there's a bear going to kill our family? And now I'm all on my own trying to keep everyone safe while you can just go and snore away and sleep soundly. Now, the kids didn't know what was going on, so of course they're just relaxed and asleep. So my husband, within 5 more minutes, is snoring again, and I'm just watching out of the window. I'm watching the bear tear apart our paper plates, tear apart our paper towels, take our camping games and throw them around and play with them and just rip them apart. We had like wiffle ball and all kinds of things that we were going to have fun with. I watched him tear apart cans of chicken and V8 and everything that we hadn't put in the bear box got eaten and destroyed. And then he grabbed our big orange 5-gallon water container and started throwing that around. And then I watched him drag it away. That is when I woke up my husband and I thought, for sure, he's not going to want us to stay in camp. We are going to leave now because we don't have water. So I woke him up and I was like, babe, he took our water. We can't stay here. What are we going to do? And he said, well, I guess when we wake up, we'll just go home. I was like, oh. So he went back to sleep. I just continued watching the bear tear apart the camp and did not sleep one little bit that night. Well, thank goodness morning came and the kids woke up and my husband woke up and I just was already awake. And my husband announces that if we can find our orange 5-gallon water container, that we can stay. So my kids were so excited because, yay, we get to stay camping. They didn't know everything that happened. I told them, no, a bear got into our camp and took everything, and they were so excited to go on a bear hunt. So my husband told them to all go find weapons, which were sticks. And we went on our bear hunt. I'm imagining us like hiking through the woods and like finding a cave that's loaded up with all the stuff that the bear's stolen from people all over who come camping, and we're gonna like go through and find our stuff in this cave. And I'm really freaking out about this whole thing. And the kids are excited. We're going on a bear hunt. They're, Daddy, this is so fun. So we're walking, and we probably will only get like maybe 50 yards up this mountain and in the woods, and we see this big orange thing in the distance, and of course we all run to it, and it's our water container. It has holes all over it, but it wasn't penetrated all the way through, and so it was totally full of water. And so my husband's like, we can stay, and the kids are so excited. When we get back to the camp, though, we have no paper plates, I think we did have some silverware, a little bit of it, no paper towels, nothing that we were going to use as like utensils. And we had eggs because we had put those in the bear box. And so my husband makes everyone eggs. And while he's making eggs, he tells the children to please go find rocks that they will use as their plates the whole time we're camping, and try to find rocks that are flat on top. So, and then ones that can like balance on the table. So my kids go around looking for rocks, and they find these, these nice size rocks, and they're flat on top. And my husband serves the scrambled eggs on top of the rock. Well, my middle son, who's about 4 at the time, he gobbles up the eggs. There is no thought that this is odd at all. He's just eating them up. My son, who's 2 years old, has a plate, and he's just smiling with his forks. He's super excited to eat his scrambled eggs off the rock. My daughter thinks that this is disgusting, and her face is like this in our pictures. I'll have one up on a PowerPoint maybe. And she will not eat the scrambled eggs off the rock. It is just disgusting. The beautiful thing about this story is how it illustrates the model in our everyday lives. Not that this is an everyday life situation, but every day in our lives, we are blessed with the opportunity to witness so many different perspectives and so many different experiences. So what this story illustrates is that no matter what circumstance we are in, the circumstance we were in as a family were, we were camping, there was a tent, there was a bear in our camp, which is a wild animal. You can think about the wild animal any way you want to. There's a fire, no more utensils, all sorts of things are like the actual circumstance that we were in together as a family. But each of our experiences were so different because of our thoughts, because of what we were making the circumstance mean internally to ourselves. So my husband, when he saw the bear, he thought, I'm going to protect my family. I can handle this. Put us all in the van. When the bear came into camp, he thought to himself, I know what to do if the bear comes to attack our family. I can handle this. He kept thinking that, which allowed him to feel relaxed and confident, since his thoughts were creating that feeling inside of him. My thoughts were very different from his. My thoughts were, this is crazy. I don't know what to do. He's crazy. How can he even sleep? What is wrong with him? This bear is going to kill us. I was thinking all sorts of things like that. I don't know what to do when the bear comes to attack us. So I was very scared. I know it seems funny in the story, but in the moment, I was so fearful, and I was just laying in bed trying to sleep. And I couldn't. I actually didn't want to sleep because I was so fearful and could not relax. My children did not know what was happening with the bear at all, and so they had no thoughts about it whatsoever. Then when we decided to get our rocks, that's such a good example of how each child had different thoughts about the situation, which caused them to feel a different way about their situation. So we have our circumstances, which trigger thoughts, and we are going to have so many thoughts. We can think whatever thoughts we want about the situation, whatever ones we think serve us. And then those create our feelings. Once we have created these feelings, it continues to create actions, which will lead to our result that we have. And our result is the experience that we are having in our lives. So my experience with this camping was a very fearful experience that night. And there was actually some resentment as I kept thinking, what is wrong with my husband that he can just sleep through this? Something's wrong with him, because I thought there was like a rule that you couldn't sleep while there was a bear in the camp. But obviously I was wrong because there were people sleeping. I am so grateful that I was able to share this story with you guys to illustrate how our thoughts create our feelings and how we get to decide whatever we want about our circumstances that we're in. And this story for me helps me remember as I go through my life that my circumstance does not have the power over me, but I have the power over me.